All right, folks. So last night, the folks at CNN decided to have a town hall with a lying, racist, bigoted, sexist, sexual assaulting, tax cheating, misogynistic thug of a person named Donald Trump. Then they chose to hire a former right-wing reporter for the Daily Caller, who they made their White House correspondent, who they made their morning anchor, who is now their 9 p.m. show host, who was grossly inexperienced to handle the job as the one to do the town hall. What happened last night was literally just a host of lie after lie after lie after lie. And then CNN is also today trying to act like, oh my God, that was a masterful job of, in fact, Poppy Harlow tweeted that Kaitlan Collins put on a master class in interviewing. If anybody took that class, your ass would get an F. I don't know how they thought that was a master class. There was nothing master or class about that. If you want to understand, so I'm going to deconstruct a number of things that were said last night, and I need you to understand what happens if you were a real experienced and prepared journalist. Because see, here's the first thing, okay? CNN knew they were booking a liar. The man lies about lies. And so when a person lies about lies, they gonna lie. That's what they gonna do every time. So going in, he gonna start lying from the beginning. And so you must be prepared to deal with a lie. Do y'all understand why Republicans don't like coming on my show? It's because they're used to lying. The problem is I don't let people lie on my show. You literally have to present factual information or I will stop you in your tracks. You don't get to just spew lie after lie after lie. In the first 2 minutes and 11 seconds, Donald Trump unleashed a litany of lies, and but Mr. President, that really wasn't true. And that's how she sounded. And CNN is like, oh my God, she was amazing. Watch the first part of this. Watch this.
President Trump, thank you for your time here tonight. We got a great crowd here in New Hampshire, a lot of voters with a lot of questions about what your 2024 term would look like, what another Trump term would look like. We'll get to the voters shortly, but your polls show that you are dominating the Republican race right now, but you are also under active federal investigation for trying to overturn the 2020 election results. Your first term ended with a deadly riot at the Capitol, and you still have not publicly acknowledged the 2020 election results.
Okay, stop right there. Now, she goes, you're under federal investigation. No, a real journalist would have said, first and foremost, you're under federal investigation. You have been convicted in New York State Court for your organization, Trump Organization, cheating on its taxes. You have been indicted by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. You are under investigation by Fulton County DA Fannie Willis. You were found liable just yesterday by a court in New York for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. That's how you open it up. You lay all of those things out. Then Kaitlan goes into asking him, oh, but you haven't said that the 2020 election was fair. The man has been lying about it since he lost. You think all of a sudden, because you showing up in an Olivia Pope white suit, that all of a sudden he's going to just go, hey, guess what, Kaitlan? You're right. It was a fair election. No. Press play.
Why should Americans put you back in the White House?
Because we did fantastically. We got
Stop right there. You ask an open-ended question. First rule of journalism, never ask open-ended questions. She should have said, why? Why should anyone remotely look at you as a front runner when you are under investigation in all of these places and you consistently lie about the 2020 election. Not what she did. She let him say all of this.
More votes than we had in, as you know, in 2016. I actually say we did far better in that election. Got the most that anybody's ever gotten as a sitting president of the United States. I think that when you look at that result and when you look at what happened during that election, unless you're a very stupid person, you see what happens. A lot of the people in this audience, and maybe a couple that don't, but most people understand what happened. That was a rigged election, and it's a shame that we had to go through it. It's very bad for our country. All over the world, they looked at it, and they saw exactly what everyone else saw. You look, even if you just look recently with the 51 intelligence agents, that made a 16-point difference. If you look at the FBI, and Twitter, they call it Twitter files, made a big difference. If you look at
Mr. President, back to what you just said there, though, it was not a rigged election. It was not a stolen election. You and your supporters lost more than 60 court cases on the election. It's been nearly 2.5 years. Can you publicly acknowledge that you did lose the 2020 election?
Stop. Okay. Can you publicly acknowledge you lost it? The man just sat there in front of you and said it was rigged. What the hell are you doing? And then she goes, so you had 60 lawsuits. No, Kaitlan, this is how you say it. Donald Trump, there were more than 60 cases. Your team lost all of them. Your firm, you hired 2 firms to look into election rigging, and they concluded there was no fraud. Then she brings up Republican officials say, I hate that phrase. Play it.
Let me just go on. If you look at True the Vote, they found millions of votes on camera, on government cameras.
Stop right there. He mentions True the Vote, a crackpot organization. Does Kaitlan say, Donald Trump, True the Vote has no credibility whatsoever? No, she doesn't. She lets him keep talking. Press play.
They were stuffing ballot boxes. So with all of that, I think it's a shame that what happened. I think it's a very sad thing for our country. I think it's a very sad thing, frankly, for the world, because if you look at what's gone to our country has gone to hell. Our borders are bad. Our military has been bad. You look at the taxes. You look at inflation. What's happened to inflation? It's just destroying our country.
Now, she goes, do y'all have the part where she mentions Republican officials? She goes, Republican officials, he's like, well, who? She goes, Republican officials like in Georgia. Really? Is that what you said? Again, this is how you respond to that. Which Republican officials? The Republican Secretary of State in Pennsylvania, the Republican Secretary of State in Georgia, the Republican Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia, the Republican Governor in Arizona, the Republican Governor and Secretary of State in Arizona State. You literally name them, and you go down the line, all of those people who said, and you say, your Attorney General, Bill Barr, you go down the line, and then you actually say, you actually name the Republicans in Congress. You don't go, Republican officials. No, that's not what you do. And then there's a point in there when he brings up Georgia, what took place in Georgia. That's clip 30, okay? We have that one. So here's him discussing Georgia. Again, what CNN should have done is use on-screen graphics, played actual sound bites of individuals who are Republican saying Donald Trump is a liar. Play.
Another investigation that you're facing, which is the one that's happening in Georgia, where they are investigating your efforts to overturn the election results in the state of Georgia.
I did nothing wrong. It was a perfect phone call.
Let me finish my question. At the center of that is that call that you had with the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah, sure.
Given the fact that there are indictments expected to come in that case this summer, is that a call you would make again today?
Yeah, I called questioning the election. I thought it was a rigged election. I thought it had a lot of problems. I had I guess he's Secretary of State. I called. Listen to this. There are like 7 lawyers on the call, many of them from there. We're having a call. We're having a normal call. Nobody said, oh, gee, he shouldn't have said that. Why? If this call was bad, I questioned the election.
You asked him to find you votes.
I didn't ask him to find anything.
Stop
me just
right
heard
there.
the audio
Stop
tape.
right there. She goes, you asked for votes. He goes, I didn't ask for votes. She goes, there's an audio tape. No, CNN. You do what I'm about to do. Press play.
This
Mr.
call
President,
was
there's an
bad.
audio of you asking
No,
him
the
to find
audio. You play the audio. That's what you do.
Look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won this morning, and you said, well, there was no criminality, but I mean, all of this stuff is very dangerous stuff. When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right. So look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It takes a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes.
Then what you do, you play Raffensperger saying he asked us to find votes. And then you say, Donald Trump, you just, on that audio call, you asked them to find votes, yet you just stood right here and lied to us saying, no, you didn't. That's how you hold somebody accountable if you're going to have a town hall. You literally play the damn video. You play the video. So January 6th came up. January 6th came up. And so he was asked about January 6th. He was asked about, so we're going to play the first January 6th soundbite. And again, I just want y'all to understand how you are supposed to question a liar. Listen.
Do you have any regrets about your actions on January 6th?
Well, you know.
Okay, again, a dumbass, open-ended question. We already know he has no regrets. So why in the hell would you go, do you have any regrets about January 6th? No! What you say is, Donald Trump, X number of cops were viciously beaten that day. X number of cops suffered significant injuries. According to Capitol Police, a number of them have still yet to return to the force. X number of people have been arrested for their actions. They have been found guilty in court. And you name them, and you list them, and you say it continues. And then you say, are you proud of what you did on January 6th? You don't ask an open-ended question. You have to ask the question by stating the net result of his actions on January 6th. Press play.
January 6th was, again, we go back to it, but January 6th had to do with the fact that hundreds of thousands of people, and you don't see the pictures very often. A lot of the people here probably were there. January 6th, it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. That was prior to the walk down to the Capitol building. I don't think, and I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people. I've never spoken to a crowd as large as this. And that was because they thought the election was rigged. And they were there proud.
Get ready for 13.
With love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day.
Really? They had such love in their heart. That is, if you were a real producer, you cut to the video of them beating, macing, tearing through barricades. He was asked about Proud Boys. Press play.
When you said you are considering pardoning a large portion of those charged with crimes on January 6th, does that include the 4 Proud Boys members who were charged and convicted of seditious conspiracy?
I don't know. I'd have to look at their case, but I will say in Washington, D.C., you cannot get a fair trial. You cannot. Just like in New York City, you can't get a fair trial either.
So you're saying the legal system not fair. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So so check this out. Loves cops, huh? Well, he got an Ashley Babbitt question. Clip 16. Listen to this and listen to how Kaitlan just sat there like a bump on a log and did not respond.
But I think the reason the timeline is so critical here, because going back to your influence, in
Here's
that
another
3
one I
hours,
posted.
over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. At blank range, cold blank range, they shot her, and she was a good person. She was a patriot. There was no reason. There was no reason, and he went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed
he
her,
was
but
bragging.
one person who was at the
Okay, straight lie. This is what she should have said. Really? Here's the clip of Ashley Babbitt that day on January 6th. And then you say, Donald Trump, was the door barricaded? Were they told not to enter? Why, if she was a patriot, why was she trying to break into a barricaded door at the U.S. Capitol? And why are you calling her a patriot and you're calling that officer a thug, the officer whose job was to protect members of Congress, including your vice president? That is how you ask the question. But that's not what happened. And so what CNN did, CNN literally gave free rein to this man to lie in front of a group of Republicans in New Hampshire who was clapping and applauding and cheering. They platformed his lies, and they literally had a grossly inexperienced person asking the questions. There are other women at CNN, Erin Burnett is one, who could have actually hosted the town hall, done a better job. There are folks like Jim Acosta, who he hates, who could have done a better job. But that's not what CNN's intent was. So CNN is like, oh my God, this was wonderful. This was amazing. It was great. Kaitlan was just unbelievable. That literally is what the chairman of CEO, Chris Licht, said today on their morning call. You want to hear delusion? Press play.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I want to kick off by congratulating Kaitlan for what I can only call a masterful performance last night. I couldn't be more proud of her and the team that supported us on the ground and back home. Tough to imagine anyone navigating such a tricky assignment with more ease than Kaitlan. She asked tough questions, followed up, fact-checked again in real time, and as you can see, that was not an easy feat. I am aware that there has been people with opinions / backlash, and that is absolutely expected. And I will say this as clearly as I possibly can. You do not have to like the former president's answers, but you can't say that we didn't get them. Kaitlan pressed them again and again and made a lot of news. Take a look. I think Axios probably did the best job of just laying out everything that is new that we learned about a guy who could very well be the guy who's challenging Joe Biden for president and could quite possibly be president again. And I think it's very important that we learned his positions on Ukraine, January 6th, abortion, the election results, pardoning people. There is so much that we learned last night about what a second Trump presidency would look like, that is incredibly important for the country to hear. So that is our job, is to get those answers and to hold him accountable in a way that no news organization has done literally in years. And while we all may have been uncomfortable hearing people clapping, that was also an important part of the story, because the people in that audience represent a large swath of America. And the mistake the media made in the past is ignoring that those people exist, just like you cannot ignore that President Trump exists. So the idea of doing so, I believe, is an overcorrection of the days when we gave him unfettered rally coverage and showed podiums. So we all know covering Donald Trump is messy and tricky, and it will continue to be messy and tricky, but it's our job. We're going to do it fairly, toughly, and aggressively, as Kaitlan did last night. I absolutely, unequivocally believe America was served very well by.
America was served. First of all, if I'm Jim Acosta or some of the other people at CNN who was holding Donald Trump accountable for the 4 years he was in the Oval Office, I would be pissed off to hear the CEO say the media did not hold him accountable before. Oh, in years. I would be mad as hell if I'm out there kicking his ass and doing my job, and this guy all of a sudden claims, oh, now last night Kaitlan Collins was really holding him accountable. Lauren, I'm gonna go to you first. What we saw was journalistic malpractice. What we saw was a poorly produced town hall. What we saw was someone grossly unprepared for the litany of lies. And if they actually call that live fact checking, they clearly never watched this show if you want to see live fact checking.
Yeah, I had not heard that audio, Roland. I had read stories with the audio, but the fact that he had said we'd learned so much. I mean, remember, Chris Licht comes from entertainment. And as somebody who worked at ABC News when it went from Cap Cities to Disney, I know what that looks like. We had Michael Eisner come in and not give an F about serious news and dismantle Nightline. Chris Licht is from the entertainment world. And frankly, after listening to that, I'm pretty convinced he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Your analysis is excellent as usual, Roland. But the central question I think we have to think about is, was what CNN, were they doing entertainment or were they doing news journalism? Because I don't think they actually know what they were doing. I think David Zaslaw and John Malone and Chris Licht and Kaitlan Collins are committed to putting Trump out and platforming him in a way that will get him even with Joe Biden by the time we get to this time of the year next year. I think that's their goal, because what I think we're watching was a strategic business decision to get somebody in the game that they make money off of. They make money off of Donald Trump, or at least they perceive that they're going to make money off Donald Trump, because that's what they did before. This moment happens to arrive right at the time when CNN's ratings are plummeting. They had a 10-year low. They laid off a bunch of people in Q4 last year. They got rid of that CNN Plus thing because that was a complete disaster. You saw Chris Cuomo is gone, Don Lemon is gone, and now they have ratings that are tanking. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right at that time when the ratings are tanking, they decide to get the worst president of the United States, who's been criminally convicted, who is obviously a sexist, who is obviously a fascist.
No. He's been civilly convicted. He's been civilly convicted.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
He's been civilly convicted. That we know who he is. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. There are no mysteries here. Okay, and they put him on TV and they platformed him. And frankly, I think what's going on is that we're watching the slow, tedious demise of cable news in the form of CNN. They know their ratings are gone. They know their market share is gone. They know their viewership is down. And now we're making a decision to put somebody on who is dangerous so that we can have spectacle and ratings and make money off the spectacle. That is what they are doing right in front of everybody's face. And the idea that Kaitlan Collins was so great. I mean, I know they're trying to gaslight us. I know they're friends. We've got friends in the news business. We've all been, Roland, I know you've been at, I've been at major companies where you're sitting in the company and you're doing what you do for your friends that are up there. But I suspect there will be a staff mutiny. That is my prediction. There are too many people in CNN who are serious journalists, who I know for a fact looked at that last night. You could see the look in the eye of Anderson Cooper and Jake last night. They knew that they had effed up. They knew this was trash. And there's just no way it can hold, because you have a bunch of serious journalists sitting there, and then you have this thing last night that makes absolutely no sense.
Here's the thing, Reese. First of all, we are in May. We're in May. So this idea that, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do this town hall now. Are you serious? I mean, like, are you really, really that serious? And again, it wasn't like it was a town hall of undecided voters. It was literally a Trump pep rally. That's exactly what it was. The laughing, the giggling. And then he goes, oh, well, the media acted as if these people never existed. I'm sorry, were you too busy on the Colbert Show? Weren't you the executive producer of Morning Joe? Again, Chris Licht, Morning Joe kissed his ass for a very long time in 2015, 2016. We knew Hillary Clinton called them deplorables. We know exactly who they are. We've seen enough New York Times articles about fucking diners in the Midwest to know who the hell these people are. We already know all of this sort of stuff. And so we can go over and over and over again. What we're dealing with here, again, are folks who act as if we're stupid. No, we know exactly why you had Donald Trump on, and it was a joke of a town hall, period.
I couldn't agree more with you or Lauren, but this was about more than just Trump. Keep in mind that Kaitlan Collins is a I guess, so-called reformed radical Republican who was a part of Daily Caller, which was formed by Tucker Carlson, a right-wing website. She was the regular on Fox News, spewing her white nationalist talking points. And so what CNN is trying to do is launch her with this white girl boss, white girl magic power suit moment with the president facing, our former president, disgraced president, facing off as though she is going to conquer the world in her suffragette white. It's a joke, but it's something that, Chris Licht has made a number of questionable decisions that they are betting the farm on. And so I mean, obviously there's no urgency with this, like you said, with the primaries probably being a little bit under a year out. But the urgency is that they're trying to move her, and it's been announced, into the 9 p.m. primetime slot. They already didn't kick the black man out. They done kicked the white man out. And so now they're going to go with their 31-year-old white Republican woman that they're trying to rehabilitate into being a mainstream newscaster. And I don't think that it's going to work. She's going to flop just like everything else is flopping over there on CNN.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.